Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Okay, I want to show you one thing while I'm behind the screen here. This could be Allergy Central. Baby, the farm. Holy moly. One of the reasons we're talking about allergies is because they are at an epidemic proportion now. There's a lot of causes of the allergies that we can't talk about, but there are some. It's important that you understand that this is the epidemic now. Our population is being affected by an abnormal recognition by the immune system. How popular is this? Well, we're looking at 1 in 5 Americans have it. 55% of the U.S. population is going to test positive. And allergy is chronic disease. The allergies is the 5th chronic disease, most popular. 7.9 billion a year is spent. You're looking at 4 million workdays lost. 200,000 people require an emergency room visits. Now, 1 in 10 adults, 1 in 13 children. Why? Why is allergy an epidemic? Why is this happening? We're going to cover the why in part 2. Now we can only talk about what is really happening. Now think of this. This is our population. Allergies have tripled in the last 20 years. And remember, this is an abnormal recognition by our immune system of things that you shouldn't have a reaction to. Throughout the world, they've increased 30 to 40%. And we're looking at UK, Europe, USA, food allergies, asthma, allergic rhinitis. 50% of children are diagnosed with an allergic condition. Now, what's an allergen? An allergen is usually a harmless substance capable of triggering a response. And it starts in the immune system and results in an allergic reaction. Now, an allergen is classified as an antigen, which is any molecule or foreign matter that can bind to a specific antibody or T cell receptor. Antigens can be proteins, peptides, amino acids, polysaccharides, which are simple chains of sugars, lipids or fats, nucleic acids. Diverse antigen reactions are made of cells of the immune system so that each cell has a specificity for a single antigen. Now, seasonal allergens. People with a seasonal allergy have reactions only during certain times of the year. And you can see this with grass, such as ryegrass, weeds, ragweed, very, very common. Trees, a lot of trees like birch, alder, hazelnut, hornbeam, willow, very, very common. Now, drugs and medication, obviously. Reactions to medications are extremely common and vary in severity, from mild, like rash, swelling, to anaphylactic shock. Now, the most common drug reactions are going to be antibiotics such as penicillin, which is actually discovered from a poisonous mold, aspirin, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. That's right, the most common medication in America. Chemotherapy, obviously. Monoclonal antibodies, which has been used for therapies, and anticonvulsants, the most common drugs and medication. Now, food allergens. And again, these reactions vary from mild, such as hot hives, lip swelling, to severe, life-threatening, where it closes off the air structures. Now, the most common food allergens: fish and shellfish, peanuts, sesame, tree nuts, eggs, milk, wheat, triticale, mustard, soy, sulfites. I mean, when I was a kid, we would sing, "Take me out to the ball game, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack." Now they have peanut-free days at the ballpark. If that doesn't wake you up to a big problem. Latex, super common allergy. Not as much as it was in the past, but nearly 50% of people with latex allergy suffer from some other type of an allergy. So think of this. It's an immune system response. So it's not the allergen. It has to do with your body's recognition of it. Many people are also allergic to fruits, vegetables, bananas, avocados, tomatoes, chestnuts. Now, latex can be found in rubber gloves, condoms, balloons, toys, rubber bands. It's produced by rubber trees and blended with some chemicals to give it more elasticity. Mold allergens, hugely common. Hugely common when you're looking at fungi and spores could be present in the air. Damp environments such as basements, hundreds of different types of molds, but not all of them cause allergy symptoms. The most common mold reactions are mild symptoms, cough, itchy eyes, congestion. The most common allergy-causing molds are Alternaria, Aspergillus, super common, Cladosporium, and Penicillium. Now, pet dander. Again, it's the dander. It's not the fur. It's the source of this allergen is saliva, urine, the dander. Okay, and this is just their skin flaking off. Now, it can come from any kind of domestic animal, but also wild animals. In my area, you're looking at lots of squirrels, lots of rodents, lots of coyotes. Okay, now the symptoms could include, dermatitis, sneezing, runny nose, wheezy, difficulty breathing. It can trigger asthma. And now stinging insects, all venomous insects can cause swelling. In fact, I was clearing out some back area, and I got stung by 2 wasps. Really painful. A very small number of people can have a life-threatening reaction to the venom, such as anaphylaxis, and I've seen this reaction. Bee sting, wasp sting, mosquito bites, very, very painful. I say that twice because it's uncomfortable. It got me to stop working, which is something. Now, types of allergic reactions. The exaggerated response to an allergen is triggered by an interaction of the immune system with the allergen, which is referred to as a hypersensitivity reaction. Now, there's 4 types. The first 3 types are considered immediate hypersensitive reactions because they occur within 24 hours. The 4th type is considered a delayed hypersensitivity response, and this usually occurs more than 12 hours, maximum exposure like 48, 72 hours that the body's going to respond. So let's break it down into the 4 different types. Type 1 is a reaction mediated by IgEs. Ig is an immunoglobulin antibody, and there's 4 different types of those, but IgE, that's type 1. Type 2 is cytotoxic or poisonous to the cell reaction mediated by IgG or IgM. IgM antibodies are big antibodies, and these are usually laid out with 5 different antibodies in a pentagram. Now, type 3 reaction is mediated by immune system complexes. And type 4 is a delayed reaction mediated by cellular response. Now, type 1, it's the immediate or the anaphylactic shock. Now, this is a fast response, usually occurring within minutes. And free antigens cross-link the IgE antibody on mast cells and basophils, which can cause a release of vasoactive molecules. Occurs in 2 stages, the sensitization stage and the effect stage. Now, this is interesting. Sensitization is when the host experiences is no symptoms with contact with the antigen. And this is very, very common. We can't get into how so many human beings are exposed to foreign substances, not through the natural means, but that sensitizes their body to reaction. So if they get exposed to it again, bam, they develop a huge response. Then we have the effect stage. Now, this is when the host is pre-sensitized and encounters the antigen again, but the immune system overreacts. And this is extremely common nowadays. Now, the most common in type 1, foods such as nuts, eggs, wheat, shellfish, animal sources, cats, rats, insects, environmental factors, dust mites, the latex, pollen, molds, atopic diseases such as allergic asthma, allergic rhinitis, dermatitis, medication-induced such as antibiotics, very, very common. Aspirin, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, very, very common. Now, type 2, antibody-dependent. Now, an antibody-mediated immune system reaction in which antibodies, the IgG or the IgM, are directed against cellular or extracellular matrix antigens with the resultant cellular destruction, functional loss, and damage to the tissue. Again, this is scary and this is very, very common. The process involves a series of immune-mediated events that might take different forms, depending on the cells involved in the pathway or the pathophysiology. The reaction usually takes between 2 to 24 hours to develop. Now, type 2 antibody-dependent, again, hypersensitivity, an acute hemolytic transfer reaction. And this is following, it's usually done by human error, where, you have the type A, type B, type AB, and type O. If you're getting the wrong blood type, like type O is universal donor, you can give it to everybody, but you can only receive type O. So it's usually human error giving the wrong blood, but anytime you're getting a blood transfusion, you're getting foreign proteins, even though it's a similar type. This is why Jehovah's Witnesses brilliantly come up with bloodless surgeries, okay, where they don't require, there's methods that you could get away with without requiring a blood transfusion, which is actually very smart. You don't want foreign proteins in your blood. Another example, Goodpasture syndrome. Now, this affects the basement membrane of lungs and kidneys, where your antibodies have already been primed, and so it attacks that healthy tissue. Graves' disease, attacking which the antithyroid stimulating hormone, and this is receptor bodies, lead to an increased production of thyroxine. And again, very, very damaging. Now, type 3 is immune complex. Now, there's an accumulation of immune complexes, such as antigen, antibody complexes, that have not been adequately cleared by the innate immune system cells, giving rise to an inflammatory response to attract the white cells, the leukocytes. Now, this reaction can take hours, days, even weeks to develop, depending on whether there's an immunologic memory of the antigen. So you need that exposure first that primes that immune system response. Now, usually symptoms emerge a week following the initial exposure to the antigen, when the immune complex can produce an inflammatory response. Now, since the problem is accumulation of antibodies in the tissue, and tissues that filter blood are the most effective, such as the urinary tract, kidney, the glomerula, and joint tissues, okay, vasculitis, glomerulonephritis, and arthritis are common conditions that result from a type 3 response. Other responses are local redness or erythema, clot formation leading to blotchy hemorrhages. Really bad. And now, type 4, the delayed, you can call it antibody-independent or cytotoxic. That means poisonous to the cells. Unlike the other types of the reaction, this isn't humoral or antibody-mediated, but it is a type of cell-mediated response. Now, this reaction is mediated by T cells, sometimes monocytes, eosinophils, neutrophils, that provoke an inflammatory response against exogenous and endogenous, that means from the outside and from the inside, antigens. Now, these cells can release cytokines and chemokines, which can cause tissue damage and result in a lot of different illnesses and can take more than a day to develop. Now, example of these illnesses from type 4 reaction, contact dermatitis. That's what I got. Cutting poison oak. I only had a little bit of my forearm exposed, and yes, not good. 2 weeks of itchy, and I should have washed with Dove soap, and I should have scrubbed harder. I missed that one spot. But there are 4 different subtypes of type 4, A, B, C, and D. Reactions based on the type of T cells involved and the cytokines and chemokines produced. Now, type 4 reactions play a crucial role in the body's ability to fight various intracellular pathogens, such as mycobacteria and fungi. Now, they also play a role in tumor immunity transplant reactions. And this is the process that they think is behind AIDS. It's a defective type of T4 reaction. Now, super important that you understand allergic reactions. And when most people hear the word allergy, they think of seasonal, animal food allergies. However, the mechanism behind the various type of allergic reactions is exactly how autoimmune disorders develop. And we are coming into an autoimmune epidemic that's going to affect the world. An autoimmune disorder is an overreaction of the immune system and an allergic reaction. And we'll cover many of these major autoimmune disorders in the following sections. But why is the immune system overreacting? You got to ask yourself, is it purely a malfunction? Is it just a stupid body? If it is, why is it exponentially affecting a larger portion of the population? Or could there be some other factors damaging the normal system? Makes you think. So let's look at the microbiome and the immune system. If we want to look at problems of the immune system, you've got to look at the microbiome. The human body has more bacteria, viruses, fungus, parasites than it does cells. Trillions more than human cells. One of my instructors says, Bergman, we're all 2/3 bug. I mean, 1/3 human cells, 2/3 a symbiotic relationship with our microbiome. Now, only recently, relative science has been able to study these microorganisms and their relationship to human physiology. Now, some estimate that over 80% of the immune system is made up of symbiotic microorganisms. So we can't ignore the important aspect of this physiology. If you're a gardener, what is the most important thing? The bacteria, funguses, molds in that soil. When you're a human being and you're talking about the immune system, you got to look at the microbiome. You're 2/3 bug, and you need that. Now, the interplay between commensal microbiota and the mammalian immune system, development and function. This is a multifold interaction of homeostasis and disease. We need that. The microbiome plays a critical role in the training and development of the major components of the host innate and adaptive immune system response. That is the key. Microbiome, baby. Imbalances of the microbiota, immunity interactions under defined environmental context are believed to contribute to the pathogenesis of a multitude of immune-mediated disorders. Doesn't it make you think? So now we got to look at the microbiome. It's not the allergen or the pathogen because everybody's exposed to it, but only a few people get that reaction. So now let's look at why those few people, although now it's looking at about half of America. Recent advances in microbiome research revealed that the gut microbiome is not a passive bystander, but actively impacts a multitude of host functions, including circadian rhythm, nutritional responses, metabolism, immunity. It's everything. Now, from an ecological perspective, mammals and their commensal organisms co-evolved toward mutual and homeostasis. That means we have a balance with this. We don't need to be afraid of viruses, funguses, molds, and bacteria. We need to look at our balance, our homeostasis. Now, there's such an intimate relationship, and this requires proper functioning of host immunity to prevent commensal from exploitation of the host resources while maintaining the immune tolerance to innocuous stimuli. Innocuous, you're talking something you should not have a reaction to. However, the perturbation of the gut microbiome and the environmental incursions, such as antibiotic use, which can blow holes in the intestinal tract by wiping out the natural bacteria, and then the yeast with their hyphae can bore holes literally. So substances such as protein polysaccharides that have been tempered by digestion can get into that bloodstream. There's other introductions into the bloodstream without passing through digestion that we can't talk about. But that can result in a systemic dissemination of commensal microorganisms, susceptibility to pathogenic invasion, and abhorrent immune system responses. Now, the interaction between the gut microbiota and host immunity are complex, dynamic, and context-dependent. This is hugely important. According to the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at the University of Colorado, the human microbiota consists of 10 to 100 trillion symbiotic microbial cells harbored by each person, primarily bacteria in the gut. The human microbiome consists of these genes that these cells harbor. The bacteria that make up our microbiomes can be found everywhere, even outside of our own bodies, on nearly every surface we touch, every part of the environment we come into contact with. Now, our individual microbiomes are called our genetic footprints, since they help determine our unique DNA, our hereditary factors, predisposition to diseases, our body type, body set point weight, and much more. To date, researchers have identified more than 10,000 different species of microbes living in the human body, and each one has its own set of DNA in specific functions. It's said by some researchers that up to 90% of all diseases can be traced back in some way to the gut and health of the microbiome. The importance of the gut microbiome cannot be overstated. Now, let's look at this. The most important advancement in medicine: fluoridated and chlorinated water, cesarean births, and formula feeding. All of these things are going to destroy. Cesarean birth puts 4 times the amount of pressure on a child's neck. Formula feeding, you're looking at the most common ingredient is genetically modified high fructose corn syrup, damaging the gut. And chlorinated water is going to kill the microbiome. This realization that humans, in fact, are ecosystems, and that we depend so much on these microorganisms, it's probably the most important advance in medicine in the last 100 years, Professor Graham Rook. Absolutely. We have to look at our environment and how we are designed to live here. Now, some health issues related to an unhealthy microbiome. And again, look at this. Autoimmune diseases. Remember, we are in an autoimmune epidemic, and it's going to get worse. Brain disorders, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, dementia, all types of cancers, chronic fatigue, joint pain, mood disorders, anxiety, depression, learning disabilities, attention deficit disorder to autism, infertility and pregnancy complications. Remember, you're 2/3 bug. You got to take care of that microbiome. Allergies, asthma, sensitivities. Even when we're looking to do a fecal transplant in somebody with brain disorders or, like autism or dementia, we have to get a fecal sample from that person's family. And you don't just look at one person. You got to see what's missing and what that family is being exposed to. It's just amazing. So what disrupts the microbiome and the immune system? Number one, physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Because that puts you in a fight or flight state. In a fight or flight state, a sympathetic dominant state that shuts blood supply down to the gut and it puts you in survival mode. Look at your body. You only have 2 switches. One switch keeps you alive under stress. The other switch regenerates tissue. If you're in a chronic state of stress, you are not regenerating tissue. Antibiotics, these are generally poisonous mold. They kill bacteria. Okay, and remember, you're 2/3 bug. If this stuff is destroying your gut bacteria, if you put antibiotics on your skin, you can develop secondary infections. Medications, wacky scenes we can't talk about, but you can kind of get what I'm inferring. Environmental toxins just everywhere, processed foods. Look at glyphosates. They're spraying that on wheat products. A sedentary lifestyle, which your body is designed to move. If you move it, you live. This is why we're putting Allergies Part 2 coming up. We're going to talk about more solutions. But right now, look at your healthy biome, your gut biome. Look at healthy bacteria. If you're using those crazy hand sanitizers and you're putting Clorox everywhere to wipe out you can't do that. You're designed to live in this world. You need proper nerve supply. That means you need a balance of that autonomic nervous system so you can regenerate. You need regular exercise. Your body is designed for movement, and you need proper nutrition. And I tell people, you're just going to eat the way your great-great-grandparents ate: organic, healthy, seasonal, varied, and fermented. You got to get that healthy bacteria in there. And sufficient rest. This is when your body regenerates. You need that rest to regenerate. That's why I have so many videos on how to learn how to sleep. And then prayer and meditation. Your thoughts precede your regeneration. If you're in a constant state, if you're using your media devices to constantly keep up on what's going on with the world and how the world is going crazy, okay, you are going to be in a sympathetic dominant state. Take a few minutes, take an hour a day to think about something joyous, to think about something wonderful, to think about something that you have great gratitude and grateful for. Think of what that feeling's like. Think of joy. Think of love. And this is prayer and meditation. That's why when you read the brilliant books of the past, none of them say worry is better. They say give your worries to God. Okay? Be appreciative that you are human, and being a human being is one of the greatest things in the world. You are made in the image and likeness of God. God bless you all. Stay healthy, my friends, and wait till you see part 2 on allergies. Oh, I also got to tell you, make sure you post your questions below this, okay? And I'll get to them as quick as I possibly can. Of course, we do have to divide them up, but post them down below. We'll get to as many as we can. God bless you all. Stay healthy, my friends.